folks, time for another quick and dirty capsulized movie review. This is part of my ongoing series of review as many corporate, mainstream-backed, mass-produced, soulless, popcorn, mega-buck motion picture summer films, event flicks that I can for the summer of our Lord 2015. And I just covered the Avengers, and last night I went to go see Pitch Perfect 2, and you know, to be honest with you, this is one of those movies where it's kind of hard to review because I really don't feel very passionate about the film one way or the other. I mean, granted, it's not a great film. It's not a downright horrible film ever. I think there's certainly more unworthy films that are being released this summer, which we'll no doubt encounter at some point. But it's got its pros, it's got its cons, but ultimately I think it's very indicative of all the things kind of wrong with modern day big budget Hollywood mega movie complex. To begin, this movie, it's a very weird sort of anti-feminist feature in my humble opinion. You know, it's weird because it's actually directed by a woman, Elizabeth Banks, and it's written by a woman. It's actually based on, believe it or not, a non-fiction book, which is really bizarre. Kind of the same way Mean Girls is based on a non-fiction work. But anyway, if you saw the first movie, there's really not much point to this because it is almost a scene-by-scene remake of the original. Granted, they kind of changed up the villains a bit. There's a couple of new characters, but overall, it's the exact same premise as the original. And the thing about that is, that movie was a one-joke premise, and they already told the only really good jokes you can do with that premise. So everything in this film is pretty much a redo of the original, except only watered down and nowhere near as effective, and it's really half-hearted. Now, like I said earlier, to be fair, there are some pretty great scenes. I love the fact that they have, these Euro trash, Kraftwerk, postmodernist, industrialist Germans, the bad guys, because I love seeing, Eastern Bloc country neo-fascists as villains. I'm going to need more of German bad guys in films nowadays. And I mean, there are some pretty good lines. I like the joke they had about Natalie Imbruglia. I'm not really going to give it away because it's kind of, it made me have to do this age-restricted stuff, so I'm not going to tell it. That was pretty good. And like I was saying earlier, there's this very, very abrasive, anti-feminist approach, I think, to a lot of, approach to kind of the film's humor. It's very mean-spirited. They even introduced the main characters in the film as women who are too ugly to be cheerleaders. And the movie is just really kind of a cavalcade of stereotypes. I mean, you got the weird Asian girl who really only speaks in non-sequiturs about sleeping upside down like a bat and having teeth from different people. And of course, you got the black lesbian who basically only exists so the white characters can say really inappropriate things, and she just looks at them funny to play off their ignorance. Really, there's a Guatemalan character, so you got a lot of jokes about dysentery and crossing the border. So for a film that's really trying to kind of be a slide against the white patriarchy culture, it doesn't really do a very good job of it. In fact, it seems to actually kind of reinforce more crude stereotypes than it does to criticize it and show them as being, ignorant and the work of really inconvenient people. Inconvenient, that's the word I'm looking for. I don't want to use the word ignorant. Let's just say unacknowledged people. Instead of playing upon that, it seems to kind of be out there to reinforce it for cheap laughs. And of course, the big casualty of the film is Fat Amy. That's Rebel Wilson's character, who's basically every single scene she's in is nothing more than just one gigantic fat joke. Though it does lead to a pretty good crack at the end, where she talks about being, even though she has an Australian accent, because she's fat, that makes her more American than everybody else in the group, which I think is pretty good. But yeah, as far as the film, it's a musical comedy, and all the bits here are recycled from the first movie. There's some weird stuff in there with David Cross, and you got Snoop Dogg doing a cameo. Yeah, half the Green Bay Packers show up for a moment. It's really forced. The overall plot is a redo of the original, and I got the international competition. Allegedly set in Copenhagen, but my goodness, it's like Louisiana State University to me. So, I mean, it's a very, very by the numbers. Half the characters just seem really, really bored to be here. They're going to going to do a Pitch Perfect 3 because this one already made a lot of money, but it looks like, what's her name? Not Kristen Stewart, Cup Girl, whatever her name is, she looks just like her. She is just so visibly bored in this movie. She just could not care less to actually be in the picture. And you see that in a lot of characters. It's just very half-hearted. They're in it because it's a cash grab. And it's going to make a lot of money, and they're obviously leaving the door open for new characters to carry on with the franchise for Pitch Perfect 3 through 18, which is probably what we're going to get over the next couple of years. And if they're giving us Insidious 3, we're going to at least get a Pitch Perfect 5 at some point. And, yeah, I mean, like I said, it's not a terrible movie. I mean, it's just really, really soulless. It's just there to make money. All the jokes are by the numbers, almost like it's written by a committee. And, I don't know. Hopefully there's going to be better comedies coming out this year, but as far as your standard, post, there's something about Mary PG-13, gross out comedy stuff, this is pretty much, the milieu, I'm afraid. The zeitgeist, if you will, the Welchton-stone, stuff we're going to be working with for a long time. And overall, I gotta say, I'm pretty disappointed. Got some good parts, but overall, not really the most impressive specimen.